What's up, guys? Welcome back to my garage. Today we're going to talk about the Zuma over here. Um, some of you guys lately been asking me exactly what parts I use, and some other guys they seem not even to believe on the performance. So with this video, I hope I can answer all of those questions and give you guys an idea um, what I've done to it so far. So initially, I started with the air-cooled engine, but I realized right away that this was not enough. Been racing motorcycles for so many years that it's just like I was like, nah, you know. I moved on to something uh, more powerful, and the kit that I chose was the Too Fast. So this kit right here, same one that I have over there, it's a 100cc Too Fast. Um, this kit over here, in order for you guys to install on your scooter and have it the proper way, you need to have three things. You need to have the cylinder, you need to have the crankshaft, and you need to have the exhaust. All three parts from Too Fast, it's the best combo that you guys can have, because I already had some guys asking, oh, can I use a Malossi crankshaft with this cylinder over here because it's cheaper? I was like, don't do that. Too Fast, they made the crankshaft match exactly the piston weight. So like the inertia on the crankshaft and all that, it's already set and done for the build, you know. Um, but let's see. Let me grab over here one part of an engine case. So unfortunately, this kit does not is not a plug and play. Meaning, what I'm trying to say with this is, um, there's no way you can install the cylinder and the crankshaft without making any type of modifications. It is not possible. It does not work. It won't even go in. So to start, first one right there, the cylinder doesn't even drop into the cases. So this area over here on the cases, it needs to be bored out in order to the cylinder, you know, drop all the way. Then the crankshaft. The crankshaft webs are so big, you need to bore out all this area on the cases. The crankshaft webs have about 80 millimeters diameter. So when you go and you bore this area, you run to a little problem. This area over here is so thin because there's a little recession, and it gets so thin in some areas. Actually, it actually breaks. You cannot leave the engine case like that. So you obviously you need to bore both sides of the cases, and then to correct that problem, what you need to do is you need to mill this down, and once you mill this down enough, you will get a decent amount of contact area between both cases. But because you're milling down here and you're milling down another case, you're reducing the space where the crankshaft goes, obviously, and it won't work. So what do you need to do? You need to make a spacer. And the reason why I'm saying you need to make a spacer is the spacer provided by Too Fast that you can buy separately, obviously, does not fit our engine cases. So our engine cases, they are made over in Asia by Yamaha. The engines, on the scooters in Europe, they are made by Minarelli in Italy. It's not the same thing. They are not the same. They don't have the same shape. Um, there's quite a few things are different. For example, if I align the spacer with the two dowel pins another area does not match. Like it's too tall over here, then it's too short over here, and off alignment here, and none of the bolts, they don't line up. So that's another thing. You actually need to make a spacer for the same space you mill this. Okay. Um, After that, uh, you can install the cylinder, no problem. Cylinder will fit in. But on my personal case, my cylinder, it's not stock. My cylinder is modified. And what I mean with that, the port mapping is changed from stock. I changed a little bit the port mapping. I did change the transfer ports A and B on the bottom of the cylinder. And the reason why I'm saying that is I think the cylinder have a good potential, but it comes kind of restricted because of the engine cases. So the engine cases does not have like a really wide area for the transfer ports. And in my case, I modified all that. So I found a way to enlarge the transfer port areas and at least have kind of enough flow to feed for the cylinder, right? Um, Another thing that I had to do as well was for my reed valves. Because of the design of these engine cases, you can't use big enough reed valves. Um, I found one particular reed valve. I have a decent size for this, and I had to modify completely the intake over here. So I had to cut some areas, fill with epoxy, reshape everything. That was the only way possible to have a decent size reed valve to feed all that. Okay, there's no other way around this. The reed valve that I'm using right now is from a Kawasaki dirt bike, and if you compare that to, for example, RC1, you know, the Malossi cases, the RC1 model, they have a Honda CR85 reed valve, which is pretty wide. It's big enough. It feeds enough for, you know, for those massive cylinders, 100cc ones. It's enough. On this particular case, you don't have in my opinion, from what all the calculation that I've done, you don't have enough intake. You don't have enough crankcase volume. It's kind of hard to squeeze a lot of power out of it when you don't have some crucial things, um, you know, like it's not there. So I had to find some ways to work this around and try to squeeze more power from the cylinder, you know. Um, when I ordered the exhaust, it didn't came even with a flange for the exhaust. So that flange that I have right there, it's from a completely different engine. It's from a Derby engine, um, and I modified the flange to fit on the exhaust and all that. So like, um, in order to have like what I think it's enough flow, right? Then as modifications on the cases, as another modification that I had to make was in order to fit the exhaust and have the silent blocks installed as well, I had to modify where it mounts because the engines sold in Europe have a completely different configuration over there, and if you try to install the exhaust and the silent blocks on our cases, the exhaust is going to be pointing somewhere weird. And after the modification, I was able to keep the exhaust on the right location, and it's nice and tucked in, you know, and all of that. For the cooling system, I'm running a mechanical pump, and the reason why I'm running a mechanical pump is because I can ride a scooter in town I can take it to work. If I decide to do 50 miles in a row, I can do 50 miles in a row. That's not a problem. I'm not depending on a battery to feed an electrical pump, and then I need to be worried because it only lasts for so long. Another problem that I had on the beginning with this was I was running an MVT ignition, and the MVT ignition is pretty decent, but I think it was not enough for the build, and it actually took me a while for me to get my ignition, about 8 months or more to receive the ignition. Was back order, so it was kind of complicated. I also have modifications on ignition, so the weight on my ignition, it was built by me. I made that spacer slash weight. The reason why I'm saying spacer is because I'm driving the water pump straight from here, so I made these little guys over here as well. So this is attached to the weight, and then the water pump. You have, like the inner portion, just, this goes like this, and that's what it drives. Oops, sorry. It drives the water pump. So basically that's it. My ignition still, I probably can squeeze a little bit more power out of it, and the reason why I'm saying that is I still have my ignition retarded about like almost 3 degrees. The rev limiter is set at 14,000 RPM still. When I made the modifications on a cylinder, I was aiming to see if I could do at least 15,000 RPMs. I tried once and I done at least 14.8. That was the maximum RPM recorded. I didn't push it too hard, but at least I know she can do some RPM. Moving on to the CVT, and this subject over here, it's the one that I receive more questions than anything else. What parts I'm using, what I did, what rollers, what contra spring, this, that, like, so the best combination, such thing does not exist. And the reason why I'm saying that is, like, every single build, it's different. You can have the same cylinder, the cylinder might not be ported. You can have a different exhaust. You can, like, there is so many things they can affect how you set up your CVT. The way I have my scooter set up, I can ride it in town. She's smooth, traffic lights, takes off fine, no problem, but she's still quick, So I set it up like that. So, like, it's very user friendly, let's say. Because when you have these too aggressive, like you go on a throttle and she's just trying to wheelie on you and stuff like that, or the RPM engagement is so high, I don't have that going on. So it's more like friendly user, user friendly. Sorry. So my CVT, I tested the stage 6 components, took them out, didn't like it. Went with Paulini and Malossi and all of that. The combination that I have right now, it works for my build. And the best thing I can tell you guys is, if you're looking for something for your scooter, get something from the same brand. Like, if you look to a Paulini, get a Paulini kit with a belt, with a variator, with a pulley, and a matching belt. The reason for that is, like, you guys need to understand that the belt and the sheaves on a torque drive or either a variator, they have a specific angle. So you want to have all the parts work together, like parts that are made to work to each other, So, like, imagine you can have a stage 6 torque drive and then you slap a Paulini belt. They don't have the same angle. It won't work the same way. So it's better off, like, for the guys that want like a overrange kit, excuse me, you can get a Malossi kit. They have one torque drive is a steel torque drive. The price is way cheaper. It's pretty decent. You know, it will do the job. So you just get the matching variator and all of that, and you should be fine. On my case, I was searching for the biggest variator that I could find. Um, but when I found that component, then I didn't have the pulley. So like the whole situation, it becomes complicated because then I modified the torque drive. I modified the variator. Then I couldn't find the right pulley, and I was talking with a bunch of guys. I spoke with Jojo, spoke with Burke, spoke with my buddies in Europe, and no one seemed to have a good answer until okay, let's put all these parts next to each other. Let's measure all the angles, all the sizing, weight, all of that was taken in consideration until I found one that it was the closest as possible. I had still to modify it, put it on. Okay, it works. It pulls the belt all the way up, like, so I can use the complete range of the CVT. That's hands down no problem. But it works for me. It might not work for someone else. Another thing you guys need to pay attention is the alignment on the belt. Sometimes you install all the parts and the belt is not aligned enough. I've seen that quite often. And I had to create some different spacers and make some changes in order to have the belt more aligned as possible. The same thing with the shimming of the variator. Be careful. Um, if you want to make it, it depends what you want to do, but I guess the ideal will be you have your pulley not putting so much pressure on your belt and moving the belt up on a variator and then pulling it down on a torque drive. So you need to, you need to play with it, or even the length of the belt. All of that matters. Um, the gears, I seen difference on the gears. Let's say stage 6 gears. Oh, stage 6 I didn't test that, but I test some Malossi ones in other brands, and you can have two gears from the same brand, for example Malossi, and both of them have a slight difference on output shaft. One ends in a flat end and another one ends in a cone shape. So when you're trying to shim your torque drive, that interferes, and then they don't end exactly the same. So like all of that matters. So when you guys are assembling the parts, you guys need to be more careful as possible, because you also need to understand the parts are made for the engines over there in Europe, not for these engines. Like the CVT cover does not fit, the cover for the gearing does not fit. So like there's quite a few changes on these engines, and then can make a part not fit exactly the way it's supposed to, I have two sets of gearings. I have the longest gearing that I have. It's the tallest combination you can have for our engine. And with the bike doing about 14.5 RPMs, it does over 100 miles per hour with the longest one. And then I have one just like a step down. It will make about like 92, 93 miles per hour, something like that. It also depends on the size of the tire. The rear tire also interferes. But yeah, as far as the CVT, that's what I have. So I have those two combinations. Intake. Now the intake, I went through a couple reed valves, was having some issues. I sorted out everything at this point. I have no issues. But again, I have quite a few parts on intake that were done by me. The spacer for the reed valves, it was done by me. Then I have a piece that will create an angle, so I can have like the flange installed and have the carburetor most upright position as possible and all of that. Even the flange for the carb, I got the flange from Jojo, but it's not the way it comes anymore. I had to modify. I made it a plate. I made a couple of modifications, and then I was really determined to use a 35 millimeter carb. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I was just like, I put that on my mind, and that's what I did. I do have another carbs So right now I have a 35 Kane air striker, but I do have a 33 millimeter Kane as well. Both carbs are modified, especially on the back end. I was giving more of a bell mouth shape. It will fit nicely with the air filter that I have, which is also have like a little bit of that shape as well. Um, and I think if I move to a 33 millimeter carb, I know as a fact that intake speed will increase. And excuse me, increasing the intake speed most likely is going to increase the performance because, excuse me, if you are increasing the intake speed, it will get to a point that on RPM that the flow is so great that you're loading more the engine. So that will result in a better performance. I didn't try that yet. I actually have quite a few things to try on the engine, and I didn't try it yet. I have gears micro polished. I have ceramic bearings for the transmission. I have ceramic bearings for the crankshaft. They are not installed on it yet. Um, I used that type of stuff in the past. I use that type of stuff at work every day on other engines that I build, and yes, we have a great result. I did not try on this engine yet, and the whole reason for that is I didn't I'm not done with it. And what I mean with not done is like I don't have a lot of free time, and I'm always trying to correct everything. So like right now, my last problem was with one of the reed valves. I think I sorted out the problem, and once I already made about like 50, 60 miles already on the last modification that I made for the reed valves, and it's working fine, no problem. So I think I'm on a point that okay, um, let's advance the ignition, let's install a bunch of these new parts that I have and see what's the result, what's the performance on a scooter. Because the way it is right now, again, I can ride it daily, but if I launch the scooter from the dig, she will do 5 seconds 0 to 60, and she have the rack on the back, she have mirrors, she have blinkers, she have everything on it. So like it's not that I'm like taking weight out of the scooter and saving this, saving that. No, I have everything on it. I actually have more parts than normal, and I still have that type of performance with a combination that I can enjoy the scooter around town, stuff like that. So I think it's pretty decent. I think it's a good combination of parts, and I think I'm coming down to a point where I'm gonna try the rest of the stuff that I have for it, and if everything goes well and I get to a point, okay, she's dialed in, and then I will take it to the dyno and see what she can do actually. Because I know these kids, and after talking with a couple of friends of mine, they already had these things on a dyno. They do close to 30 horsepower. Some of them actually touching the 30 horsepower. Um, so it's a pretty decent setup. It requires a lot of work, like I was explaining, with milling the cases and making all of that. If you guys ask me if it's worth it, it depends. I went this route because I really like the stock wheels, and the other engine cases out there, I cannot use that stock wheel. Right now, there's one brand, they made some attachments for their cases where you can use a drum brake, but they also have a different option for a different size of shoe brake, which I think it will be the right one for this wheel over here. So I'm looking into this, and possibly I will make something like that in the future if I sell my engine, which at this point, once I'm done with it, if the right buyer shows up with the right amount, I will sell it. That's not a problem. I'll move on. I will make another one, because I also enjoyed doing this. Like it's fun to um, start from the scratch and see all the evolution. Um, but yeah, so for you guys to understand, keep it in mind. I didn't just slap parts together. There's quite a few parts done by me. um, the cylinder, again, it's modified, it's not the stock porting. I have modifications all over the cylinder. I'm not saying that I'm the best, but I done my best in order to have it done right. um, and at this point, um, if you ask me if I will do this all over again, I probably will think twice, but I think I will do it again. It's just because it's so fun to ride. Like, there is power available everywhere. She does 60 miles an hour, and you close the throttle, get back on it, hold just a tiny bit of throttle opening, and she's steady at 60 miles per hour, no problem. So, like, yeah, I think it's fun for someone that is having something fun and have like a really fast scooter. This is a good option. Yes, you do spend some money into it, but at the end of the day, I think it's really worth it. So, if you guys have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I will try to do my best in order to answer all the questions the best way possible. Because a lot of times people keep asking me questions related with my scooter, and I know as a fact, if I give that answer, it will just put you in a bad position because it won't work with your scooter. You know, there's quite a few things. They are different stuff that I have that is so different, and one of them is, for example, the torque spring. Let me show you guys. Okay, we have here two springs. This spring right here, it's similar to the one that I have on the scooter right now. This one over here, it's the stiffest spring you can get from Polini for a Minarelli engine. Can you guys tell the difference? Yeah, this one is shorter. Yes, they have some of these ones shorter, but the wire section, it's completely different, and the tension on it, it's not even the same. Like, this spring you can grab and you collapse the spring all the way down. This one, to collapse the spring, it's hard. It's a very, very stiff spring, and that it's if you have a lot of power, you need to have a heavy contra spring, and the reason for that is just to hold the belt so the belt does not slip through. You know. So yeah, like, I hope you guys understand that stuff that I'm doing for my scooter, it will not work for the majority of the scooters out there, because the majority of the guys have air cooled, and at maximum you're doing 15, 17 horsepower is already kind of difficult. You really need to know what you're doing and setting up everything perfect, like, so it's very difficult depending which kit you have, but it's very difficult then to start to reach like the higher horsepower. There's a lot of stuff they need to work together and be perfect. So for the guys that already asked me this before, please don't take me the wrong way. It's just like, I can't tell you what I'm using. You will spend the money and it won't work for you, trust me. A lot of people's like, oh, but what do you like? It's not the same. I guarantee you guys, it's not the same. If you put this heavy of this spring, you're going to need to have like a crazy heavy rollers, and then your scooter does not have enough power to take off. That's what it comes down to. So I hope you guys understand why sometimes I do not give any type of answer towards what I have on a scooter. Is just because of that. I don't want you guys to be wasting money and then, oh, this guy told me this and now it doesn't work. Like I said in the past, choose a set, Stage 6, Polini, Malossi, whatever you like, and get the whole combo and use that. Work inside of that. It will be better for you guys on a long run, trust me. So, if there is anything else you guys would like to know, please let me know on the comments, and I will see if I can answer or even make other video and talking a little bit more about the build. Till next time.